And we're live. Welcome to our home buyer seminar. I'm Bill Gross, at Bill Gross Probate, along with my colleague and good friend,
Patricia Castillo.
and our good friend and lender,
Shannon the lender.
Shannon the lender.
Yes.
And we get together and we talk about the home buyer market. And oftentimes we're kind of stretched for topics to talk about. Sometimes, you work in the business every day. It seems like everything is the same. Seems like there have been a few kind of exciting changes in our business. So my hair is great. Patricia, what is going on? We were talking briefly about insurance. How is insurance going to affect or is affecting currently our real estate market?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a big topic right now, an important topic for buyers. And this is more of a buyer beware, announcement. If you are in escrow or you've made an offer and you're looking to get accepted and you've already have your insurance agent and insurance provider picked out, you do want to check in with the insurance company and the agent that you're working with, insurance agent, to make sure that no changes have occurred since the company approved the plan, your insurance plan. I was talking to an escrow officer yesterday, and she mentioned that many of her files are delayed and she doesn't even know when they're going to close because the insurance companies are starting to backpedal on some of those policies that they decided to bind for the properties. And they're calling the buyers and letting them know that they're reevaluating the coverage. So it's really important that if you are in escrow, make sure that you connect with your insurance agent and not your your realtor too, but your insurance agent is the one that's going to have the most updated news for you. And if you are looking at maybe getting a different policy because this insurance company is deciding to cancel before your escrow's closed, there are, I know we talked about the California Fair Plan. They're kind of expensive and don't cover as much as another insurance company, but at least it's a stepping stone to get your escrow closed. And then after you close escrow, you can go ahead and have more time, and have more time and flexibility to look for another insurance company if you're on the verge of getting canceled. But definitely check in with your insurance agent if you are in escrow or if you're writing offers.
I was in, I know it's happening in insurance companies management right now, is they're saying, we don't want to write any policies. Now, they can't say that out loud and they can't put that on paper, but they know they don't want to write any insurance for the next couple of weeks. So they figure out what's going on. And part of the issue is not even just that they can't write policies on houses that burn down, but every house they make, they have to contribute to this fund and cause them even to be more hesitant and kind of get them in deeper into a market they don't want to be in. And so the reality is, and this is what you have to understand as buyers in particular and sellers, every insurance company is looking for any reason not to give you insurance. The price is higher, exclusions, they want more paperwork, they'll run you around the house 5 times. And so if you're buying a house and you want to close, you need to do everything you can as quick as you can, as early as you can to get the insurance lined up and executed. And if you're a seller as well, you need to comply, because if you make it hard for the insurance company, believe me, they're just going to say, sorry, we're not interested. They don't want to write insurance. They have to, by state law, a certain amount, and are being forced to. Their arms being twisted, literally. And so we need to understand that. Shannon, one question I had on insurance requirements is, obviously anybody who's getting financing needs to protect the house with insurance that they're buying, or else you can't get financing. On condos, I know the condos have insurance on the whole project, and we think of that as being the outside, the unit, the hallways and the roofs and stuff. Does a buyer of a condo need to also get insurance on the inside, or is that just more for personal property and is not required?
No, you do need insurance inside. That's 100%. And you're right. I mean, anything that's inside the walls still does need to be insured. Now, it is a little cheaper since you're not having to insure the whole thing. But that's also, now I'm glad you brought that up, because now insurance is, and I've seen this, and this is obviously before the fires, but they're now being very meticulous on even what's called the master policy on the condominium, right? They're looking at what are they covering, I had one that didn't cover wind, and they needed wind to be covered somehow. So yes, when you're buying a condo, one of the great thing is obviously it's a lot more affordable to get in. Obviously, one of the cons is the lending companies are going to look at not only the insurance you're going to get, but also what's the master policy look like? Does it fall into their requirements? Are they comfortable with it? Things of that nature. So that's one thing that they do look at is the master policy as well. But as a first-time home buyer, you do need to get homeowners insurance for exactly the inside of the property.
And that there's not determined by who has the master policy. I mean, the master policy could be Allstate or somebody, but you can get your own policy wherever you want on the inside.
Exactly.
And I have a good friend, shout out to Lior, who was trying to close on a condo property, and she had two problems. One is the seller was not being responsive on getting documents, the insurance and such. The insurance company said, we're not going to give you any documents. We only can interact with the owner of the property, who's the seller, until the buyer closes escrow. And so the seller wasn't being proactive to get everything. And at the same time, the insurance company she had lined up for the inside backed out. They said, we're not writing your policy for whatever reason. And it took too long. And so now the seller's trying to force her to forfeit the deal. And she's saying, no, you never gave me the insurance information. And so there's separate from the insurance is the professional job of getting the documents. So talk a little bit, Shannon, you're kind of at the mercy of the seller who's not your client, but without the documents, you're not going to be able to get the loan funded or even approved in many cases. What's that like?
Yeah. So when we do condos, a lot of the times you're right. The seller is not always our friend, unfortunately, but we have to go directly to the HOA company and ask them, hey, we need this information and we're going to need your master policy. And there's also what's called a lender questionnaire. There's a questionnaire that the lenders need answered from the HOA company. That does cost too. There is a part of your closing costs is HOA questionnaire, HOA transfer fees. So this is the time when you're in escrow to get to know who your HOA company is, and we'll get to know them and how responsive they are, if they're willing to give us these documents and how, what's their attitude like. That's another thing too. Some of these HOA companies are just like, just kind of try to blow us off. Others are more accommodating. So, for us, we are at the mercy of getting these documents. And one of the kind of tricks I do to kind of put pressure is let him know, hey, we need this for this transaction. And if this transaction doesn't go through, there's liability there. So, again, going back to your team, for us, if we don't get it from the seller, we try to go directly to the HOA company and grab it from them. And for anyone looking to buy a condo, this is a good moment really to get to know who your HOA company is during escrow. I've had some of my buyers help me too to try to track down these HOA people, because some of them, do have an office in the condominium. Some of them don't. Some of them, they just manage it virtually now, surprisingly enough. So you'd be surprised of who's managing these and what kind of groups and funds, these things are.
So as a listing agent, I really push my seller when I have a condo to get the documents when we list the property, post them in the MLS, have them at the ready to send out. There's no reason not to. It's the same documents, it's the same insurance, same financials, same letters, and all the documents and stuff are the same. Articles of incorporation, minutes of meetings and such. A lot of it's kind of hard to understand what all that's about, but you can have it ahead of time. I know some HOAs, home associations, it's as simple as going online, put a credit card down, download the documents, you're good to go. Others, you have to call them and get that. Patricia, when you work with condos as a buyer's agent, how often does the listing agent have the documents, and how often they tell you good luck getting them? How does that work for you?
Not very often, but I usually will ask, because when I'm listing a condo myself as a listing agent, I know that that's going to be one of the requirements that we need to deliver to the buyer. Right. So I will start preparing them. Do you have your HOA documents? If not, we're going to order a new set. And in case anything has changed, usually the meetings, the meeting minutes and the budget, things like that need to be updated anyway. So I will usually ask for that ahead of time so I can be prepared with that. So we can deliver that to the buyer in that 7-day window. But if I'm representing a buyer, then I asked the listing agent, have you had communication with the HOA? Do you know what the turnaround time is to get the HOA documents? We definitely want to see the CCNRs because that's going to tell us how the HOA is dictating all of the rules and regulations within that HOA community. You want to know what pet restrictions there are, things like that. A lot of people have dogs, cats. There might be a noise ordinance, no noise after 9 or 10 p.m. or maybe earlier, right? And there's usually things that you need to run through the HOA. I mean, you can't just go and paint your door. You can't add a patio cover. There's things like that you would need to run through the HOA. And so
hardwood floors.
Yeah, I mean,
there's hardwood floors, and they won't let you. They want you to have carpet because the neighbors, make noise.
Yeah.
Or if you can rent them or not. If you can
rentals,
they may not be rentable. They may need to be owner occupied.
All that's in writing, right? And you have to get in writing either the CCNRs or the rules have that in writing, or if they don't have it in writing. And as listing agent, also commonly lock boxes where you can put them and signage.
Even for sale signs. Yeah.
Some limit one sign for the building. You put a little rider on there. Some it's a free for all. I've seen condos with 20 signs up and 20 different lock boxes. It's a nightmare.
Yeah.
But you have to know
actually, even the directional signs, if you're going to host an open house, they may not want you to use, they may have some kind of regulation where you can only have a directional sign to direct buyers to the open house at the entrance and in front of the actual door. So it gets very, very detailed. But as a buyer's representing a buyer in a transaction of a condo, I will usually ask for that information just so I can know what the time frame is. Have they requested it? Do they have it on hand to send to us? And this way we can get a head start reading it, because it's not like you're talking about just a few pages. I mean, you can be looking at like 60 pages of CCNRs.
Could be hundreds. I've seen hundreds.
Yeah. So it's always best to be prepared, especially for the buyer. They want to know what regulations, what rules they have to follow. Being in a community that has rules, you want to make sure that you are following the rules. The last thing you do is want to move in, have your pet with you, and then before you know it, you have to get rid of your pet because maybe that breed is not allowed. That's devastating.
Or size, right? Or size restriction, 25 pounds, and then your dog puts a little weight on, your dog's 28 pounds. It's like, come on, Fido, we got to lose some weight. I know that feeling, so.
Yeah, definitely. It's always good to know exactly. Same thing like if you're buying a single family home, you want to know the location it's in. If you're not familiar with the location, you want to do your own research, find out about the neighborhood. If you have schools that you're going to be utilizing, maybe you have children you're going to be putting in the elementary school, enrolling into high school, you want to look at the stats for the schools. Are they good schools to put your child in? So it's the same thing when you're moving into a HOA community.
Just today I was at a house in Granada Hills. It's kind of, it's not like way up in the hills. It's kind of like in a pocket, like within like a bowl of Granada Hills, I guess you would say. And on one hand, you can see smoke and fire from the Palisades area, or that area of smoke and fire. And I guess there must be still fires in Calabasas or West Hills, or that area. And I'm looking up, there's like this hill of all this brush just sitting there waiting to catch on fire. And I'm thinking, if I was an insurance company, on one hand, there's no fires in Granada Hills. There's no fires within 5 miles. But what would it take, for a spark to fly and the wind to blow it the wrong way for the whole thing to go up in smoke? And I think that's why insurance companies are requiring inspections, and they're going to drag their feet on deals. And as long as I think we still have some of the fire conditions going on today. It's still going to be weeks, I think, before we're out of the woods.
Oh, sure.
As far as the fires, and then there's going to be the cleanup and the rebuilding. But even still, anybody in escrow right now, you better be prepared for delays, fallouts, insurance increases. Very challenging right now for those transactions.
Definitely. Yeah. If you're a buyer, you really want to make sure that your insurance company is still going to insure your property at the closing.
And on the thing about condos, the condos actually some of them can actually get some down payment assistance. So, that's actually a good thing. I did get some people through CalHalf in some condos last year. So
nice. Are condos specific projects or within zip codes and census tracts?
Yeah, within zip codes. I mean, it's based off of if they're insurable or not, what kind of insurance that they have actually. That's a big factor with a lot of these condos. But yes, they can. It's depending on the condo. Yes, depending on the area for sure.
Yeah. First thing
Yeah.
I would do about a condo as a listing agent is get all the documents together and the insurance, make sure it's enforced and not coming up for renewal in the next 30 days because it's just going to be, California, man, not for the meek of heart for sure.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing with condos is that when you look at the budget, you want to make sure that the other homeowners are not delinquent in their HOA dues, and also that the HOA is actually using the funds to take care of repairs within the community. That's what the budget is for. If the budget is in the red, then you know that certain repairs that might be needed within the community are probably not being made because they don't have the money to fix it. So that's another reason why you want to look over the HOA documents and the budget, especially. Make sure everybody is up to date within the community.
And there's always going to be some delinquencies, right? That's just the nature of life. There's people who have problems and challenges financially. And so the question is not, are all of them up to date? I think, a reasonable guess is no, but there's a certain percentage. I think you can have up to 10% delinquent. Anything over that becomes a red flag. Is there a hard and fast rule, Shem, that you're aware of as far as, I think it's 10%.
No, I don't. I'm not aware of any rule on that, but
you'll find lenders
you
who
can have some delinquencies, but if you're constantly in the red and you have that history showing that there's certain homeowners, I mean, a notice of default can be issued for homeowners that have not paid their HOA dues. So those are the things you want to look for. If they're seriously delinquent, that's a problem.
Yeah.
If they're delinquent by a month or so, I mean, like you said, life happens and sometimes that will take place. But if it's like chronic delinquency, that's not good.
Yeah. So you two are both like me, entrepreneurs. You have a business that you run. It's the beginning of the year. Normally we think about goals. There's an excitement. And, I think that, on one hand, everything in America has become political. So you might be thrilled with the new president, or you might be depressed about it. There's that to deal with. Seems like overall the economy is headed. There's been some exciting news as far as the business economy of America, but who knows? We have a long ways to go. But certainly in LA, we had this cloud, literally and figuratively, hang over with the fires, not knowing what's that going to do. I can only imagine at some point when the depression about all this and the personal strain and personal pain goes away, from a business point of view, you have less houses. The ones that are left are going to be worth more money. At some point, people are going to have to go out and buy houses or new places for rent somewhere. Many will leave the state. Some will move to Downey or move to other places in Southern California. What do you think as a business person? What are your thoughts for this upcoming year as far as the economic competition that you deal with? Of course, we make our own business regardless of the market, but Patricia, what are you planning for this year? What do you see 2025 in your market, the part that you work in?
So I see myself helping more sellers that may be behind in their mortgage. I typically have listings that come up due to pre-foreclosure statuses. So I don't really see that changing. I think that life happens and people get behind for whatever reason. There's always changes in family circumstances, like divorces, people getting sick, maybe coming down with some type of unforeseen circumstance that removes an income from a household. And so I've seen that a lot last year. I anticipate that this year for my business because I do sell pre-foreclosure homes. And I also see more buyers that are in the younger generation coming out to buy homes. So I have a new buyer that's recently rebuilding her life, and she's looking for homes. And I also see people looking a little further east, like in the IE. So you get more square footage for your dollar. And we wrote an offer on a property last night, waiting to hear back on that one. Hopefully that one gets accepted. But when you're paying $750,000 for a property in LA versus somewhere in Riverside, you're going to get more bedrooms. You're going to get more gross living, general living space, you're going to get a larger lot. So I'm seeing that buyers that are coming to me looking for homes are looking for a larger space. And I also see a combination of multi-generational living. So
Mm.
have buyers looking to have either a sibling live with them or their parents, their aging parents. And that's what I see more of in the market this year, especially with the affordability concern. Prices are going up. The property that I made an offer on had 7 offers. It was only on the market for 3 days. I mean, that just goes to show you the demand, and this
Yeah.
is in Riverside. So,
Yeah.
with rates the way they are, I don't really see them coming down significantly this year.
Yeah,
But that's a reason why you have, 2 families coming in, 2 generations coming in to purchase a home. So when you move out to places like the IE, you're going to get that square footage that you need to actually be able to house, 2 generations there, parents and adult children, or maybe 2 single moms with kids. It's a perfect area to get a larger home for the same price that you'd get here in Los Angeles.
Well, I think particularly with all the people who've been able to move their business and work remotely, then I live in West LA where people pay a real premium because they used to go to these large office buildings and companies, and nowadays those office buildings are half filled and half empty. And why? Because people can work out of their home or work remotely or other areas, and I think that's going to continue. I know companies try to get people to come to the office to work more and more. That's a challenge. And I understand why they want to. Personally, I have a beautiful home office, nicer than any office I ever worked in, because I made it for myself. It has what I want here. I don't have to ask permission because it's my home, and I have a whole bedroom. You can't really do that in an office. You're always subject to other people's compromising, and leases and companies get bought and sold and affect you. I see it continuing, and I agree. I do think the outward pressure to move out is going to continue, and I think the city of LA can be so overwhelmed with dysfunction that I think people are going to find they can buy houses elsewhere and avoid that. And Shannon, what do you see? You're a business person as well. This year, where do you see interest rates, and where do you see your business personally over the next 2 months? I know you have a crystal ball. I do actually have a crystal ball. It's right there. It just doesn't really work. But
that's great. I mean, just to piggyback on what Patricia is saying, I do see a lot of multi-generational borrowers coming together. It's rare that I just see one borrower, to be honest with you. So that's one thing. I guess I would split this up into 2 parts. I think for the consumer and interest rates, I think what a lot of people, even including myself a little bit, expected the rates to go down much more than they did last year. And I think now what I'm seeing is people are not waiting for these rates to go down as much. I was hearing that a lot last year. Hey, I don't want to wait till the rates go down. I want to wait till the rates go down.
Right.
Now I'm not hearing that as much. So I think this year buyers are just coming to grips with, hey, we may be in the same climate that we're in now the rest of the year. And so the promise of rate cuts, right, has not been on the forefront, which I think is a good thing. I think, hey, don't just wait for the rates to go down. I think, we're going to be where we're at. Like Patricia said, we might come down a little bit, but the thing is, we're in unconventional times. So, I would definitely have the mindset of, just act as if rates are not going to go down anytime soon. And I think you're being in a better position that way. And if they go down, great. And if you're in the house already and the rates went down, that's even better. So,
I heard an interview today with a football player who I really always have rooted against, Patrick Mahomes. Great guy, great player. Just he's always been the wrong team that I've been rooting against for various reasons. And there are people who complain, say like the refs favor the Chiefs, and the interview said, what do you make of that? And he said, well, to be honest, he goes, my job is to be a football player. My job is to do the best I can on the field. If the refs make mistakes in our favor or against us, I can't control either one. My job is my job, and I have to do what I have to do to be, the best I can be. It's all I can really control. And I often hear football players in particular talk about what they can control, what they can't. I think we as homeowners, or we as prospective homeowners or business people, it's very easy to get caught up on the economy and the politics. And, in some regards, politics has replaced sports for some people, me included, as a game to watch, the ebb and flow and the victory and the losses and all that. But at the end of the day, I can control how much money I make. I can control how much money I spend. I can control percentage I save. I can control paying my bills on time. That I can control. And I think for anybody here who's listening, if you do your best in those areas, over time, you'll make enough money to buy a house and or buy more investment property and succeed. And if you don't, whether rates go up or down, or housing values go up or down, or Trump is the president or is not the president, it's not going to matter. If you focus on all that as your excuse, you're never getting anywhere. And I think for all of us, 2025 is a year for all of us to really focus on what we can control and work together. And as we kick off this year, I really appreciate Patricia and Shannon, you guys being partners in this process. We've had a lot of fun I think we've done this now for a couple of years. How long have we done this?
I think this is going on maybe our third year. And some of my friends that listen have said that they've learned so much since we started this program.
Now that's the episodes when we didn't have Shannon. They learned extra, or how did that work? Did they say anything about that? Who their favorite person on the show was? They say anything about that?
Shannon. I mean, we cover so many topics. It's really just a general overview of home buying, but also scenario, information on different scenarios. Like if you're a seller, if you're a buyer. So I think we've done a pretty good job in covering different angles of that real estate process. And so my friends have said I've learned a lot from listening to either your YouTube or Facebook, because I have friends that are in different sites.
Your Instagram, in your case.
Or my Instagram, yes.
She's big on the IG.
I mean, Bill, that's a great point, though. I mean, if prime example, you said you should only focus on controlling what you can control. For example, if you said, "Hey, I'm going to rely on the feds to do their job for me, so I can get my house,"
you're screwed.
Exactly. And I think a lot of people were, especially last year, we had so much news about the Fed meeting. If you relied on that 100% to get the job done for you, like you said, you're screwed. So I think that's a big thing this year is you got to take control with so many variables just in this year alone, man, that we just didn't anticipate. The only thing you can control is you yourself, like you said, especially being a business owner. And so going back to that, I think for me personally, it's growing. I did do my NMLS renewal, because we have to renew every year. And he says that the renewals are just dropping every year, the last 2-3 years.
Sure.
Lenders are dropping. He's like, my class used to be full, and I think I was in a class of 4 people that were renewed. Yeah. And so for me, I kind of take that as an opportunity. Like, hey, you know what? Yeah. I'm going to take the bull by the horns. And a lot of non-traditional lending is popping up now. So, with rates going up, people doing bank statement loans, profit and loss. They said, heck, why am I going to pay taxes on it? Just might put that towards my equity and get a bank statement loan. Or maybe, a lot of new owners in terms of affordability are going to condos or mobile homes. So really attacking those underserved aspects of real estate, and then also jumping into, for me, commercial and apartment building loans. I'm doing some refis right now for people that are, again, another underserved. People don't really appreciate the landlords of LA and what they have to go through. So getting, really helping that community out with their lending needs is going to be another aspect to me. But I think for business owners, we have to provide more value. We for sure, with these classes, with, content, that's another focus. Just provide more value, be consistent. I think you two are a good example for me as to, what's to come for me if I do stay consistent, if I do put the work in, I can build a career for myself. So I'm only 3 years in full time. So it's been a good run, but I still am an infant in this. I know you guys have double-digit experience, in terms of years. So
I've been in this business longer than you've been alive.
I think we were just talking about that.
I say that all the time to people, and they're shocked when I say no. And I tell them the year started, and they go, "Oh, well, you're right."
It's funny. I think the last thing I'll say that I'm realizing how blessed I am because I didn't know how many part-timers are out there.
Yeah.
And so just to do this full time is a blessing, I guess, because some people, they just don't have the business to do it. So.
Well, I do think there's a certain commitment to making that jump, to go from part-time to full-time is a commitment. And I think on the flip side, for me, when I find somebody's part-time, I would never work with them because they're not committed to the business, whether a realtor or a lender. And I don't mean to put down the part-time people. I feel sorry for them. But I always say to them, look, I would either get in or get out. I wouldn't hang out one foot. Well, when I close a couple of deals, I'll go full-time. No, you won't close a couple of deals until you're committed to the business, to get the business and to do a good job. It's not that easy. It's hard. It is hard work, but it's worthwhile hard work. And so I definitely encourage people. This is the time to get in. Shannon hit it right in the head. People are dropping out like flies. This is like, I've never run a marathon. I did ride a bike supporting somebody competitively a couple of times. And I know that when at mile 20, when it starts going uphill, that's when people start quitting and dropping out. And the winners pass everybody on the way up the hill. And that's how I feel like we've been in this market for a little while, that we've been passing people dropping out. But at some point, there's a little bit of a downhill slope. I'm thinking that's going to be the summer. I think we're going to start feeling kind of tailwinds. I feel like, I think that, you can hate Trump or not, but one thing that's clear is he's going to pump more oil. And that's going to drive the economy, I think, in a positive way like it did last time. Again, I'm not here to say who to vote for, but when I read the future and say, if gas dropped $1 a gallon like it was before, what's that going to do? Well, everybody has more money in their pocket. People have more money in their pocket. They're going to buy more houses. Cost of everything gets cheaper. And so I do think it takes a while for that to happen. But I think by summer, we're going to see, some improvements in the economy rather than we've endured some inflation. We've endured the pandemic. We've endured all the monetary setbacks, regardless of who's responsible for it. We went through the pain of all that. Here in LA, with the fires, we're still not done with tragedy. But at some point, that's going to get behind us, and we'll be. Today. I'm sorry.
Now the fires are in Santa Clarita today and Castaic.
Is that where I was in Grand Hills? I could tell somewhere north of where I was, and I saw on the signs of the freeway it said Lake Hughes was closed, and I think 5 was closed.
5 North was closed. Yeah.
My mom used to live up in Santa Clarita. That's a shame. Well, look, prayers for all those people. For anybody here who needs any help, there's a lot of resources. If you do need help, reach out to one of us, and we can connect you to different city and company resources that can help you with different. There's all kinds of stuff: food, housing. I was at a networking event where a guy has used iPhones for people who lost their notebook computers. He has used notebooks that he's giving away. So if you're one of those people, please reach out to us. Patricia, if somebody wants to get a hold of you and talk more about real estate or wants to talk about something else that's fun, how do they get a hold of you?
Sure. My cell phone, 323-365-9909.
Fantastic. And Shannon, the lender, so when we get a hold of you and talk about getting pre-approved for a loan or what they can qualify for, how they get a hold of you?
Yeah. My cell phone, 661-317-8484. And my Instagram, FUND Fund with Shannon.
And my New Year's resolution is not to make fun of that, so I'm not going to say anything about that. I'm going to continue. I think I have 3 weeks now in a row. I'm at Bill Gross Probate on social media. BillGrossProbate.com is my website. We do this once a week. I'd love any comments you have. Feel free to comment, say hi, ask questions. We'll get back to you. Thanks for all your support, everybody. If you like this, like it, subscribe, reach out and say hi. Have a great week, everybody. Thanks so much.
Bye.